All right, everyone. Okay, welcome to our team stream today. We're going to be exploring the creative process that goes into Echoes of Elysium. And our art team will be talking all about the concept art, the character design, and the animation. So, with that, we could introduce our art team, starting with Ilya.
Hi, everybody. Uh, this is our slide. This is my intro. There it is. Hi, everybody. I'm Ilya. I'm the art director here. I also do pretty much most of the concept art. I worked as a lead concept artist at Bethesda previously. Games like Fallout 4, Fallout 76, Starfield, Elder Scrolls. And I've been doing this for a long time. I started working on Metroid Prime games, Donkey Kong games. Worked on Shadow of Mordor, was our technical artist that we're going to introduce to you shortly. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much me. Now I'm here at Lorik. It's been a blast, and I will turn this over to Roger.
Everyone, Roger, lead character artist on the team. I, like Ilias, have been doing this for a long time as well. I started off in the industry about over 20 years ago and started off getting my first big break working on Guitar Hero and Rock Band back when that was a thing. It was an awesome experience and got to work on other titles like Call of Duty, working on characters, and had a chance to kind of jump around the industry, working on either VR, working in apps, working in marketing, all art and animation centric. Got a chance to work on marketing material for the MCU, and after getting away from the gaming industry for a while, I realized like my real passion and love had always been working, not just in art, but working in the gaming industry. So I kind of came back, and for the last 5 years, been back in the gaming industry, specifically with Lorik for the last 2.5. It's been a heck of a ride, uh, watching and working in the trenches with this crew, bringing this game to fruition from the initial concept stage with Ilya to where we are now. And I'll pass it on over to Karim.
Yeah, so I've been working in an industry for about 25 years now, as an animator slash character 2D. Some of the game that I worked on Fable, I worked on Black and White 2, Shadow of Mordor, where I've met Ilya. More recently, I worked on a PSVR 2 title called Firewall Ultra. And to this day, I still love my job.
It's awesome.
That's it.
And I asked Karim to add this bullet point there because he didn't
Oh, yeah.
literally write the book about the art of rigging. So product placement, but also amazing. Yeah, it's been great to work again together, Karim, after all these years.
Yeah. Likewise.
So I guess we can get started. This slide shows the first piece of concept art that I've done for the game, and it was a big one. It took a while to make. Oh, look, Karim, somebody's commenting about the art of rigging in the channel.
Already.
Yeah. But yeah, this slide, it shows this first image that I've done. And this image was really important for us because what I tried to do is kind of get a glimpse of all the different elements of the game and how they come together in one style. So this shows you the landscape, technology, architecture, characters, enemies. There's a glimpse of everything here. And actually, it's amazing how close it ended up being to what we currently have. We went and developed every aspect of the game further, but this really was a great starting off point. And so, starting with these characters, we kind of evolved them more towards this over time.
Before we go any further, referring to the piece of art before, he may have emphasized that it was a big deal, but I have to also put in here how much of a big deal it was because he had just started on the team. I started, I think, maybe a few weeks before you, and then you started, and there's a lot of variables, a lot of questions about what's the concept going to be, because we were at a point where we really wanted to define in imagery what is the game, how can you best describe it. And all he had was keywords, keywords, phrases, a little bit of art, but nothing that was in stone yet. So he was going to have to create a piece of work that was going to define us. Like think of taking an entire vertical slice of a game and putting that into one image. A lot of pressure. So I'm not gonna lie, like there was a lot of anticipation to see what that piece of art was going to be, and as it came together, seeing it come together like over days, and finally when it was completed, like we all saw it, and I know we were all thinking it, but then I remember having a couple of side conversations. It was like, we got our guy. Like this is a. Not only do we have the art, we have a definitive piece of artwork that we can also use as strong marketing material to say like, look, this is what we're aiming for. But we also knew that we had kind of landed our golden goose when it came to art direction and concept art. So yeah, like I said, I got to put it out there that this was like a really big defining piece for us.
Thanks, Roger. You're very kind with your words.
He didn't pay me to do any of that either, too. Just to put that
I
out.
did not bribe him to say any of that.
Now, when it comes to characters, like this is my jam. This is where I have the most fun, right? So seeing the concept start to come in after seeing the environment, I couldn't wait to see what he'd come up with characters. And little by little, each piece that came out, it was like one banger after another. I was like, okay, well, at that point, it was like, how soon can I jump in? How soon can I take your work and bring it to fruition? And, we initially had defined concepts or defined classes of characters, revisited it a couple of times, and this is the progression arc we ended up coming up with. And I think it's far more conducive than what you would normally see in a normal survival crafting game, but for our world and what traversing is in our world and navigating the world, this fits more in line. Having a pilot and a builder fits more in line with what we're trying to do, as opposed to like the traditional kind of like tank warrior kind of stuff, right? So, and plus, I don't know, this gives us a lot more fresh avenues to kind of search, to kind of flesh out as far as what different tier levels, as you'll see later on with some of our designs.
Yeah, I think the big thing with this slide here is this didn't come on right away. We had explored a bunch of different ideas for what our characters could be in the game. And it really clicked when we had realized that we wanted the characters and their outfits, their classes, so to speak, to embody what most players would be doing in Echoes of Elysium. And it's not just combat, right? It's flying the airships, it's building the airships. So I think when we landed on this image, and when I did this piece of concept art here with the three characters, we all felt like, okay, this is the right direction for our player characters. But I thought it would be fun to show you all the kind of crazy stuff we explored. We went all over the place, from all sorts of different ways to do our outfits and progression, to trying out a bunch of different characters that could all be different classes, which was cool, but shifting the focus a little too much onto characters. We want to keep it on the airships, on flying, on building them. We also explored a lot of different things of what our gliding and backpack could be. Brian, our CEO, was really challenging me to explore some more like surfboard type stuff and all sorts of crazy things. We landed on that backpack with wings contraption that you have in the game right now. It was a lot of fun to get there. And now I think, Roger, maybe we could talk a little about turning these things into 3D.
Yeah, like this is where I get to play, and I love the challenge of taking concepts and bringing them to fruition. So it's almost like it's a personal challenge, and it's also like I take it personally because I feel like I'm taking someone else's work and I'm trying to do it as much justice as I possibly can. So it's almost like a bond and a contract I feel like I make with every concept that I get to adapt, that I'm gonna tell you right now that I'm gonna do my very best to bring it to fruition the best way possible. The cool thing was, a lot of times you get a concept normally, and that's it. You just have the concept. Maybe it's a 2D 3-point perspective. Maybe you have all your angles, and you have that to work with. But because of the quickness, or because of the turnaround time we really needed to get things done, A lot of times Ilya has enough time to work on one image, maybe two, and that's where the iterative process really starts to come into play. So we normally have like a kickoff. We talk about the concept. What do you see? Do you see any areas of that might be a little problematic? Just like anybody that's in there that knows how to do that knows 3D art or how to adapt concepts. Not everything's going to translate 100% from 2D to 3D. So you have to make that decision to start seeing where that might be, or where you might have to make some concessions, or where you might have to compromise in a couple of areas for the sake of functionality and animation, right? So luckily, Ilya, he's being modest, but he also has some 3D experience too. So a lot of his concepts come with that notion, and he's very mindful of it. So it makes my job that much easier when I do look at his concepts to be like, okay, cool. We can make sure that the full range of motion happens here, and we're going to be fine in this area where armor is going to clash or collapse on the shoulder areas. There's all these little areas that can be problematic, but because it's probably the veteran thing between, I think we have like 100 years in game industry experience between us, it seems like. Because of that, it makes that symbiotic kind of relationship between 2D and 3D kind of happen a lot easier. Now, that's not to say that we don't have moments where we challenge or we question like what's going to be better in 3D, or what do we really want to retain in 2D, but that's part of the collaborative effort, and that's what the best part is about making games, for me specifically, and what always drove me back to come back to this industry. And it was collaborating with other artists and other like-minded individuals. So taking his concepts, and after having that initial kickoff and understanding where we are on the same page, then I get to go into ZBrush to start creating a sculpt. I start making my high poly first, and that's what you see in this slide here. The top image, that's the high poly resolution model, right? That's for the clothing. I think for the character, that still might be a little bit primitive, but for the most part, that's it. And from there, we take a look at it again. That's the iterative process. At almost every big stage, or every stage of completion, me and Ilya have another conversation. Be like, hey, how's it looking right now? You feel pretty good about it? Yeah. Any issues anywhere? No. So, and then sometimes we do have to refine some things. Like once it's in 3D, like, hey, you know what? Maybe in 3D, we might need to make a tweak, and maybe we start, deviating away from the concept a little bit for the sake of what looks best in 3D. And the fact that I'm working with someone who's looking at a high level from the art direction standpoint, he can see the larger scope of things and see not just beyond. He can see beyond just his concept and see how this stuff's going to fit in the world, because he's also designing the world we're inhabiting as well. So from there, once I make my high poly, I get to go into Maya, and I normally make a low poly resolution cage there, and that's the model that's going to be implemented in the game. From there, I go into Substance, and I get to have a little bit more fun, adding color, adding life, vibrancy, adding color tones, whether it's going to be gradients or it's full-on skin tones, or if it's clothing, all those things. And again, Ilya's provided me some good concept to work with, so that makes my job easier. Now, from the beginning, and this is where I'm going to get into the cell shading part and the rendering style, we always knew that when we were going to make characters for this game, or that we were going to have to do something, or at least separate our characters from the environment a little bit, right? To give ourselves some contrast. The world as you've seen it is very beautiful, and it's very vibrant, and there's a lot of smooth transitional colors. There's a lot of what almost feels surrealistic when it comes to the sky, when it comes to how our islands are chunks of land like fit in the world, and then you're navigating through all this. So there's a lot of fluidity in color, and I love that about it. And that's one thing that also drove me to want to work on this game. Is I was kind of in awe with what my characters would look like inhabiting this world. So, but again, contrast. How do you make the characters pop off the screen a little bit more and not blend into the beauty of the background? That's when cell shading came in. Being able to use cell shading, we were able to create that contrast and start adding almost like a painterly 2D vibe to the characters. Not full-on hand-painted textures, because we depended on more gradients to do that heavy lifting for us. But as you can see, like in the bottom image, we do have that contrast and that separation between the background and the character now. That gives it some more distance and makes the animation stuff look more fluid as well too. And again, one thing that Ilya did say, and I'm gonna let him talk about it some more. One of the key words he said when we first started talking about what our approach for the game was going to be was agility, was art style agility. And it was primarily because, for one, we got to consider time, we got to consider the size of our team. So because of those things, we had to really be sure that whatever we do, we got to be nimble about it. We have to be able to flex and stretch a lot of that art style so that we can get a lot done with less. And I'll let Ilya talk some more on that point.
Yeah, that's a great point, Roger. And thank you so much to everyone who is here, who is listening to this, and thank you for your support. Um, Being agile as an art team, it was really the crucial piece of the puzzle for us because while we may all have been in the industry for a while, I couldn't emphasize enough how small our art team really is. Until Karim joined a few months ago, Roger did character art, animation, rigging. He helped out with environment art. Alexander Cooney, who is not here today, but he will definitely be in the next stream talking about environments. He is taking care of our ships and our environments. I've been doing obviously the art direction, but also pretty much almost all of the concept art, UI. We all have to wear a lot of hats. And yeah, early on in the project, it was obvious that we needed to establish an art style for our characters that we could crank through quickly. So like at Bethesda, I could have a week to, or sometimes more, to do concept art for one character. And here at Lorik, a couple days, maybe. And then, pushing it to Roger, and, the cell shading really helps us move quickly and achieve the kind of look that we want with the kind of time frame that we have. I'll go to the next slide.
So here's another clear example of what the transitional phase is from Ilya to me. And these are the initial concepts of the first three images that you see here. And he sometimes does me a favor when he has time to give me a version of not just the textured version, but he'll separate the colors in black and white like that. And that gives me a greater sense of what the geometry might look like with some shading. If I can see some shading and some depth, well, that gives me more information, more visual cues of where those things might fit in 3D space. So I can take that information and start understanding exactly how much roundness, how far back, how wide, how much girth is on the object, how much volume is here. So I get to take that information, and like I said, in ZBrush, which is the middle image you see in with the gradient black and white colors, that's ZBrush. And then from there, the object is to get as much of that information to a 3D object that has a lower resolution in polygonal count. So the polygon count in the middle object, for the three images, the three positions of the character, that's probably 50 million, maybe 60 million polys, somewhere around that range. And the version next to that is in the very low thousands. We're talking probably 15, maybe 20 tops. And that's the trick, right? That's the whole issue of going from high to low. But at the same time, though, is baking the information. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this information, but it's basically tricking the eye to seeing a low poly model look like a high resolution model. And there's a process you call baking, and that's basically taking all the high resolution soft areas and very smooth areas and using lighting to bake information to a normal map, which it's high. I remember the first time I did it, it's high science to me still, but it's basically taking all this information and bending light to see the smooth forms and transitions and not seeing the harsh edges of low polygon forms. And I can probably do a whole stream just talking about that and to walk you all through it. Maybe one day I will. Maybe we'll get a chance, and I'll pull back the curtain and we can get into the weeds, and I'll show you all the stuff, and I'll get to nerd out some more. But that last image is the low poly model, and you can see that you can't really tell the difference between the high and the low, and that's the goal. From there, I take that model, and using our lighting, using our materials, I'm able to create based off the textures that I make in Substance Painter. The lower two images you see, that's in engine. So that's the full process, is getting it from the 2D, but then getting it to those last two images to look just right. And it's never just a one-to-one where I go from Substance Painter and paint everything on the character. because in Substance Painter you're not working with cell shading, you're working with normal 3D, normally Gaussian shading or whatever lighting they have in there, which is not cell shading. So there's a little bit of an iterative process of me going back and forth and making a few tweaks here and there, getting Ilya's eyes on it one more time and being like, do we ship it? Is it good? And then we decide we give it the green light, and then we get to the fun part of rigging it all up. And normally, like before Karim came on, like that was mine too. So I got to take a character from, and this isn't like in all studios they don't do this. Every studio is different, but every now and then you get the fun of being able to take, if you're knowledgeable of it, of the skill sets, you can work from beginning to end on a character. So it's a lot of fun for me to go from concept to animation. So I get to see the whole process, and I get to be there across the whole board. But having someone like Karim or having a tech artist as well as an animator come on board and help out with that, well, that's again, the collaborative effort comes into play, and that's the fun part of being able to give my work and trust somebody to say, hey, this is what I did. You take it to the next step, and whatever I might have mentally thought of or whatever mental images I might have of that animation is cool to see. And then watching someone take it even further, that's a lot of fun too. Well, let's go to the next slide. All right. Do you want to talk first about armors, or do you want me to go talk about armors?
Go for it.
All right. So armor sets, you can see up in the concept. Those are the different tier levels we have of concepts, of armors. And I love the fact that we infused like traditional armor, the idea of Greek armor, but we also contemporized it as well too, so that it wasn't just typical, Centurion, Trojan, Roman armor, or Greek armor. It wasn't just that. Ilya, it's funny too, because like I said, I was really curious to see what Ilya was going to do, and he goes off, and I let him do his thing, and it's like the Wizard of Oz goes off somewhere, and then he comes back and he pulls back the curtain. He's like, concepts, and then that's the fun part. Now there's a bunch that not everybody's going to see that we're on the chopping block, but for the most part, we got the best of all those concepts, and we're able to come up with these. And it was a bit of a blast to start looking at it from a tiered level of like layers, adding more armor, adding more volume, adding more shape. The first armor set is obviously more agile, more nimble, and then we get to this middle tier, which does feel more like traditional Greek armor. And of course, all I'm thinking about is the Odyssey. I'm thinking about Troy. I'm thinking about all these movies, all these cool forms of media that I can relate to or think back on to kind of help drive some of those creative ideas of how thick I want to make the armor in certain areas, or how much detail I want to add to the back. Because again, this is one of those circumstances where I don't see the back. I don't get to see what's going on all angles. So again, I got some liberties. Like what do I get to do with the back? And Ilya will give me he doesn't just completely let me like just go off. He'll give me some cues, which is good for me, because otherwise, we still want to stay on the same track. We still want to stay in the same wavelength and mindset. Give me a couple of visual cues, or maybe a couple of ideas, maybe even a real quick line drawing, just to give me a general idea. But then I still get to go in there and have some creative liberties, which is a lot of fun to have. And then there's the process of adapting from male to female, because all the armor sets are going to be shared by both male and female. So then there's the idea of working with the proportions and changing those to fit for our rig, because our rig is a little bit different for the male and female. So adapting the models just a little bit. It's not a whole lot, but there's definitely a difference when it comes to adapting the torso, the length of the legs, the arms, and the shoulders. So that takes a little bit. Whatever it might take me, a few days of making the low poly model, it takes me like probably another day just to adapt the sizes and proportions from male to female. It's easier to go from male to female because I'm having to shrink the armor sets or having to bring them down in size, as opposed to increasing size and possibly risking stretching textures and things like that. We don't want to do that. So I prefer the way of shrinking things down or contracting in the size a little bit as opposed to stretching, because there's things like UVs and textures that can sometimes get tweaked in ways that are not really ideal for final usage. But my favorite was the tier 3, because that just looks bulky and massive. Like this version of the armor just looks like they could just take on anything, and And I like the added layering of the shoulder pads too. But yeah, that came out really good. My personal opinion, I think it came out great. But then we have weapons. Weapons were a lot of fun too, because again, you could just make a sword, or you can make something like that. You can make swords that look aggressive and beefy and chunky and large. And that's another thing too that Ilya and I jammed on a lot too, and that was the idea of how much these objects take up space on screen. When you're working on an object up close and you're continually looking at it, it's very easy to assume the proportions are right. But then once you put it on screen, and we did this plenty of times, and he brought it up to my attention, once you got the character on screen, they don't take up any space. You're looking at a very small percentage of the screen of where the character's at, and you realize that you have to go back and start adding more size, adding more volume, so that the characters look like they take up more space and actually fit better on screen. So that was a bit of a learning curve, but one that I think we nailed pretty well for our world. I guess we go to the next slide.
I guess I could chat a little bit about this one. So when it came to coming up with enemies for Echoes of Elysium, you will learn more in the story. So hopefully that's not a big spoiler alert, but that glow in them is actually captured souls. And when I had come up with that idea of like, why don't we just show the captured soul right in the enemy? That was kind of a big aha moment that then I carried that theme through all of them. These concepts have that glow in all kinds of different colors. Once the idea really crystallized, it's red, it's menacing in the game, and you can see them coming from afar away. It helps to fight enemies at night, and it just makes them really distinct. But yeah, this has been a lot of fun. I didn't want to spoil the story too much, but yeah, there's a reason why all of these are made out of metal, and these are weird ancient Greek clockwork technology contraptions. Roger can tell you a little bit more about.
Yeah, I was just about to say, the cool thing about a lot of the exploration we did on enemies was defining shape language for everything. Like defining what are going to be some visual cues that translate across to the different enemies so that we have continuity. And I think Ilya did a really good job of making sure that we added a lot of that. And the process again, it's the same process of making characters. I like working on enemies a lot because there just seems to be, especially in this world, the creative freedoms we have designing the characters, the enemies. I always feel like enemies are always more interesting. It's just how I've always gravitated to villains and enemies and stuff, whether it's in books or in media. They just always have more interesting stories. So visually trying to capture that with these characters and adding a little bit of I don't know, there's a little bit of mysticism and a little bit of allure in not knowing exactly what is this, where did it come from, why is it? And I think Ilya captured a lot of that with the constructs, which are the more humanoid shaped characters, which also have tier levels like your armor set. So as you get further up the food chain, battling these things, you'll start to see that they start to get more menacing, or they start to get visually obviously scarier looking. And there's some other ones here that I have really enjoyed working on, and there's some that I'm going to be working on. Spoiler as well too. So it should be fun. So you got some other things to look forward to. In the next slide, over adding the emissive of the captured soul is pretty great, because that's a really nice visual cue in the evening, or like when at night you start to see these things in the distance, and it's a good point of interest. At the same time you get close, it's like, oh wait, never mind, I should get away from this thing, because this glowing red thing can't be good. So there's that element. We also have some more humanoid characters like we have in the top corner there, Dryad. I've had a lot of fun with that one. Another spoiler. Let's see what else we've got too. The crawlers were a lot of fun too, because a lot of times, specifically in this game, I was animating a lot of humanoid characters. So we're bipedal characters is something that I was traditionally doing. But getting to work on quadrupeds is a lot of fun as well too. You get to have more creative fun as well too. With, like I said, that one and the Howler was another one too to animate. And yeah, I guess I'll move on to the next one. Oh, it's perfect segue. Perfect segue to animation.
Yes, Karim has been very patient and quiet during this presentation. This is now his part. Karim has joined us just a few months ago to help us with level up our characters, how they move, how they feel in the game, bringing his expertise in tech art and animation. And it's been awesome to see what he's been doing. And as a fairly fresh person who is still getting used to the studio, we're gonna just put him right in the spotlight and have him talk about what he's been working.
So what do we have here? Yeah, so here this is like a new upcoming spear attack combo that I will be integrating. So what's interesting about this is, I get to animate it, and then more importantly, I get to implement it into the game and see how it feels, and then go from there. See if I need to make it faster or if I need to change the attacks, that sort of thing. Next video. So yeah, same theme. Some of the spears, you will be able to use them as projectiles. So same idea here. I will first come up with an animation that I think will work when you actually play with it. The next stage will be to put them into the game and see how it feels.
Now, worth mentioning here, some of the stuff that you see is coming after the early access. We have a ton of plans for what we're going to be adding to the game. So thank you everyone who is here, who is going to be supporting us in early access. We have much more to come.
Yeah, a lot of new weapons are coming up. Right. So here, this is the crafting table. So, like in Valheim when you can craft, and here it's a generic crafting animation. So that when you're playing multiplayer, you know what the other players are up to when they're crafting. So that's what that is.
I love this animation because it's a hard one because it's supposed to because of our time constraints, we're just going to reuse it on all the workstations. And so when I went to Karim, I basically told him, can you make it look like somebody is working on a workstation, but you don't know what that workstation is, and it should just work with all of them. And I think he nailed it.
Yeah, and also when you do stuff like that, it's like one of the trick is when you need to something that loops without looping too loopy, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be like super obvious. So
yeah.
Not too loopy.
That's a good point. I like that. Not too loopy.
Is that a word, loopy?
It is now.
Sounds good.
Ship
it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
It's self-evident.
Put it back in the new edition of the Book of Rigging.
Right. All right. So here, I basically had to come up with a new wrench attack that can both be used for attacking, but also for picking up items and cutting trees, that sort of thing.
Yeah, the reason for that is our world is filled with technology, and it just made a lot of sense to add a pocket wrench to our characters. And they start with it instead of the old boring like punch trees animation that you see in every survival game. We wanted to do something different. So instead of punching trees, you use a wrench. Then once you craft a better weapon, you'll be using that.
Yeah, and one other thing with this type of animation, it's even though they're like super simple, they have to feel right, because that's basically what you're gonna do most of the time. I mean, at least a lot. So the responsiveness of it is actually crucial, and so those can be somewhat time consuming to get right. Anyway, this can be a quite iterative process. All right, next slide.
All right, tech art.
So yeah, here I had to come up with a physics solution that's not really physics. What I mean by that is not really using proper physics. It's pseudo physics, but the beauty of it is very light on the CPU. And since we have a multiplayer game, and that's the solution we decided to go with. So that was one of the first tasks I was asked to do, actually. And it took me quite a while. All right, next video.
And we use this physics on everything, on skirts, on there you can see it here.
Yeah, just so we don't, again, I know I feel like we're being a little bit modest we brought Karim in, and he basically hit the ground running, and we just had issues. We're like, we want this and we need this on our characters, and we're at a bit of a block here. He came in, started looking at stuff, and just over a matter of like just getting the lay of the land over a day or two, started to jump in and got not only familiar with our game, familiar with our tech, familiar with our pipeline. He implemented a new pipeline and helped create solutions for issues we didn't know we had, and was able to create something that not only works for our characters but looks amazing. I can't tell you how often I would animate, and it would irk me every single time knowing I could see all these objects that are supposed to have secondary motion to them and it not be there. So, and just tell myself, we'll get to it eventually. We'll get to it eventually at some point in time. But I'll be the first to admit it. I'm an animator, but I'm not a tech artist. So there's a lot there I myself was not familiar with. And then having someone like Karim just jump in, and Ilya bringing his buddy on here, like seriously helped us out quite a bit. And like I said, it's only been, it hasn't been very long, and he's already made vast changes that make our game look a lot better.
Yeah, it's kind of a, I mean, it's kind of a somewhat of a dream job, so to speak, because it never gets boring. You know, like you get to do some rigging, you get to do some programming, even sometime you get to animate. You're confronted to loads of problem solving. It's just never gets boring. I'm never bored. There's no routine. Yeah,
it's so helpful to have somebody experienced with tech art on the team, as that we otherwise we just bash our head against the screen, don't know what
there's only so many check boxes and sliders that I can mess with and know what they do. But
yeah, it's kind of a less glamorous type of jobs. You know, maybe like, if you watch basketball, there's a Dennis Rodman who does the dirty job, but you need him if you want to win championship, kind of thing,
I never in a million years would have selected you to be our Dennis Rodman, but I'm going to stick with that. That's pretty cool.
This one, I can set the stage for this video that we're about to play. So Brian, our CEO, he's been really pushing us to get more agile, more quick with his animations. And one of the huge parts of unblocking us, allowing us to prototype gameplay quickly and explore all sorts of things, is being able to just quickly take any animation pack that we find online and drop it onto one of our characters and just have that work. And Karim built us a tool that lets you just do that with like literally a push of a button. And here, Karim, do you want to talk about this video right here?
Yeah, so like Ilya was saying, I just came up with a batching processing tool that just simply allows you to grab any packs and just target it to your desired source character. So here I just applied some of the motion that I thought were pertinent to the character and just apply it. So here, what's cool about it, you can see some of the physics that I was working on, putting everything together. So you have the batching process and the physics working hands in hand onto this upcoming character called the Dryad. So that was fun to do. Next video. Yeah, same example here. This is the use of the pseudo physics that I was talking about earlier on, applied to one of the character that Roger built. So maybe that was one of the things that he was thinking, hey, that would be cool to have physics.
Yeah, honestly, like I thought I was going to have to hand key all that. So like having you come on and another solution like I didn't know we needed happened when I saw it live. It was just like, it's one of those moments where I'm like, look at it go, look at it do things. It's like watching your kid, like, all of a sudden walking now. So it was pretty exciting to see that. And he keeps doing that. He keeps surprising me. There's things that I think that we have on our criteria, or we have on our list of things to get done. And because of how fast he works, there's new things that he'll show us in our art channel, and it's like, oh snap! I didn't even know we needed that, and now that we have it, I can't imagine us not having it. So good on him for finding solutions to problems we didn't have. I didn't know we had.
And we're gonna keep working on this flying enemy. Disclaimer here at this stream: we're keeping it real, keeping it raw. Don't make a flying enemy if it's your first video game. Flying enemies are hard. So we got more to do on it, but they're fun too. So yeah,
We're learning so
start
much.
doing again. That's right. Let's. All right. What's this? Okay. All right. Well, I guess let's just all talk about what it's been like to work here. Roger, do you want to kick it off?
Sure. Just I'm pretty sure everybody knows this. We're a remote team, right? And that's a huge component and dynamic of what makes us who we are. But at the same time, we've worked very hard, I think, at making this collaborative team feel like a team and feel like an in-house team because of how much interaction we have. And I think it's very important. You know, we all know that like after COVID and stuff, remote work for the game industry became a very large thing, and luckily our industry is one of those that can strive in that type of environment. But at the same time, there's always something to be said about how important it is to have FaceTime or have conversations and be able to not just talk about the work, but build camaraderie, build those relationships when you're working together, especially creatively. I think it's very important to establish those connections, because everywhere I've ever worked at where we had a solid team, it was because of the bonds and connections we had as teammates together. And Lorik does a good job of that because, like I said, we talk all day. I've never gone a day where I didn't have a huddle or I have a conversation with somebody. And a lot of times those conversations go from talking about the art to talking about whatever. And it's all those types of interactions, I think, that help create that really good cohesive connection we have as teammates, and also keeps us from not feeling like contractors. It's very easy to get a contract role and just get tasked, and you go off and you do your thing, and then you check in at some point in time, you show your work, you get a thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever. It's very easy to get into that routine and also lose connection or lose the feeling, or I guess that motivation to kind of just keep wanting to aspire to do more. It's very easy to just get into, well, I'll just do whatever it takes to get things done. But the more I've worked with this team, the closer we've gotten. We've all, I think, gotten to a point to where we're working for each other. That's how I like to think about it. Like, just like I'm working to make Ilya's art stand out, and I know design is working to make the game its best possible version of what it can be. Engineering is looking to fix everything we break, and they're out there keeping us going. Like, engineer, I love you guys. But yeah, like there's so many things about this team that make it special, and working with a small team makes it that much better. Ilya, I know, could talk about this. I know Karim. We've all worked at big studios and we worked at small studios. There's like the I'm working on like big titles and all that. But honestly, the best time I ever had working with a team was a smaller team. And it's purely because you get to see the work closely. You're not just a cog in the machine, working on things. You get to have more influence, get to have more of a voice. So I really enjoy the size of our team and where we're at right now. And also the liberties that we all have to work and wear different hats. Ilya mentioned that earlier. Being able to wear different hats allows us to shine in different areas and also allows us to grow creatively as well too. So no one's ever just doing one specific thing and only doing that one thing. So yeah, it's a solid crew.
It definitely, I can't emphasize enough how much of a tight group we have here. The team is tiny by AAA standards. We got me, we got Roger, we got Karim, and we got Alexander, who will be joining us in another stream sometime, who is mostly focused on environments and ships, and that's it. That's it. That's just four of us, and we have to wear a lot of different hats, do a lot of different things. Besides concept art and UI, I also help out with marketing and all kinds of stuff. Roger had to do basically the entire character pipeline until Karim joined up. So yeah, it's really different. It's a lot more passionate and tight knit. Most of us came from these big projects. When I left Bethesda, we were at 500 man strong plus, working on Starfield. We just finished it, started working on the next game, and I knew I wanted to get back to how things were when I had started in the industry, over 20 years ago. It was just a small group where you have a chance to not only make a bigger mark on the project, but also form closer relationships. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Feel really blessed and grateful to be here working on this game with these people, and I hope that you all see the potential in what we're trying to make and support us so we can keep living the dream.
Yeah. One thing I'd like to add, one thing that I find quite interesting is it's very refreshing to have a CEO who actually does things. He's a real worker, leading by example. I think it's like, to me anyway, it's just, you want to not necessarily push yourself, but, you want to go the extra mile. Having with a team that's really down to earth is also really important. And that is the case here. So it's been a pleasure so far.
Yeah, definitely everybody on the team, not just the art team. We all do this. We all wear tons of hats, and I see some cracks about production backlog in the chat. Ray was an art director before. He's cool. He gets it. Yeah, and yeah, we all work very close together. All right, this one, Michelle. I am curious. Is there a way for us to get like a sense of, I don't know, a rise of hands of something, if we have many artists in the audience? Because we could chat a little bit about some industry advice for artists, but yeah, I want to keep it relevant. Looks like we got one so far, so let's keep it tight. Tech art absolutely counts, and project management counts too. Roger, I think you had some ideas that you wanted to share. Let's keep this one brief for the folks in the audience who are interested.
Let's just put it this way, since everybody's bringing up the different ideas of art. Hey, everybody's an artist. Everybody just has a different canvas, right? That's how I look at it. So, as far as like what I do, and if there's anybody out there that's aspiring to get in the game industry as an artist, I would say that the key to success is iteration. Like, you have to constantly keep iterating on your work, and never be completely content with where your skills are at. There's always going to be new pipelines, new tech, new art, and you have a responsibility to maintain and continue growing as an artist, to keep integrating new pipelines, new applications, new tricks of the trade. So be a student and be a sponge. Like, constantly keep growing as an artist and keep learning. I will never say that I'm a master of any one skill set, just because I feel like the second I would say that, I would have a few new applications to learn. There's always something else out there. I do consider myself proficient at what I do, but at the same time, like I said, even then, I get inspired every day by art. I'm always looking on either ArtStation or other forms of places where I can see up and coming art, whether it's in games, whether it's in cinema. There's all sorts of ways for me get inspired. So I'm always trying to push my art to kind of match or grow at the same rate in which I see the industry growing as well too. That's my 2 cents on that.
Well, I'm going to move us on to the next slide. I see some excitement. Abby, I'm glad you're here. I know we actually chatted about advice for aspiring artists offline, so happy to see you here, and thanks as always for pretty much single-handedly supporting our art Discord, though more people are joining now, so you're leading by example. Well, all right, let's move on to the next slide. First, Michelle, I really wanted to ask you, what prompted you to put all of these ghosts in here?
I just think the goat is really cute. Ever since I saw your dev vlog about the goat, it's like the
Oh, he
only
loves
thing
the
I think
goats.
about.
Who modeled the goat?
That's awesome.
You do it, Roger?
No, I did not do that one.
I'll play the trailer for our game, which is coming out soon, and it'll just give us something to look at while we take questions. Michelle, how do we go about doing that?
Let's see. I think we did have some questions earlier. I'm going to go look for them. But yeah,
I gotta
just
say,
drop any
real quick,
questions you have.
as we're looking at the trailer, that's something else for people to notice. Like characters are not just characters. When you look at our game, every ship you make is a character as well too. Like I love the fact that there's so much agility and there's so much creativity you can do with the ships. The ships themselves in our world are their characters in their own self. So it's pretty awesome. Can't wait to get Kuni on one of these.
Totally.
All right, here is actually a question. What inspired the human character's attire? Seems to be in contrast to the enemy's advanced look.
Okay, I can take this one. Yes, it is intentionally in contrast because the enemies ought to look more advanced. So I'm really glad that you picked up on that. They come from a much higher, um, let's say, manufacturing capability, and it's just a different. The enemy of the game who creates them, they're meant to look more powerful and more sophisticated. The stuff that characters wear themselves. We didn't want to do boring rags like we see often, so we kind of did like a Greek inspired initial attire that you start with, and then everything after that you're supposed to be able to craft on your ship. So it intentionally uses big gears and chunky things and big ding marks to make it look like the players have made it themselves. That's why there is a big difference. And yeah, good observation. Do we have any more?
We have some people typing, so let's just see.
Play the trailer one.
Are the armors interchangeable?
Yes, you can have helmet, shoulder pads, torso. Sorry, torso and shoulder pads are together. Helmet, torso, gloves, and pants. And you can interchange them however you want. And yeah, any combination, more advanced, lower advanced parts can all be combined together. And you also have a cool glider backpack the whole time. And we might do more with it. DVD. I'm sure we will.
Okay, and then as people are adding in more questions, could you go to the next slide just so I can start on the wrapping up the announcements?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And I can see there's a question about sets having bonuses or being purely aesthetic. Yes, there will be bonuses. At minimum, they're going to boost your damage, but armor, but we're looking into adding much more and adding more armors in general.
Okay, and actually there are two more questions. Let's just answer those real quick.
All right, I see them right here. So as far as recoloring, yes, we would love to do that. We're going to be exploring character customization, and that might be a part of it. I don't want to make any promises right now because you always have to run these ideas by our design team and our engineering team to see what's feasible and what fits with the game design. But yeah, I would love to do recoloring. And then when it comes to the prop design, weapons combining and modern elements. So, Abby, I don't know if I really looked at inspiration for that too much beyond just ancient Greek. Ancient Greek stuff is really cool and really interesting. Um, Layering the tech on top of it, I kind of just riffed on that. But yeah, we got kind of lucky with the ancient Greece because aesthetically speaking, it's just a treasure trove of cool designs. I see a question there about the persistence of the world. It is persistent, as far as I understand it. Players can join each other's games, and we really give them a ton of freedom. You can make your own ships, make your own stuff. It's pretty much a free for all co-op. Perhaps we can let some of the team members answer the remaining questions. Abby, did you want to talk us through this slide? I'm sorry, Michelle, did you want to talk us through this slide?
Yeah, okay, so some final notes. Early access launches this upcoming Tuesday on January 27th, and you guys can enjoy a 10% discount during the launch week. And please wishlist us on Steam. We're almost at 150,000. That would be an amazing milestone to reach. And in general, your involvement as a player is very crucial to us. The game will continue to grow and evolve post early access, and your feedback is essential for helping us identify any issues and to improve the overall experience. We recently launched new pages for feature suggestions, feedback, and bug reporting, making it easier for that information to be streamlined back to our team. We just want to build the game alongside the community, and we're excited for you all to experience that. So thank you everyone for coming to this presentation. We can still answer any remaining questions. But yeah, and then we have one more last announcement. The next slide. The next team stream will be next Thursday on the 29th, and this one will be a bit later in the day to this way more people on the West Coast can come. It will be at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and then all the corresponding time zones are listed there as well.
Thank you all so much for joining us. And yeah, that 150K wish list, we're all super thrilled to hit that. And that's gonna help us so much with the way the Steam algorithm work, get more people to see our game. I assume that anyone here is a super fan, so thank you for your support. Share, whatever, like, subscribe. I don't know. I don't do a lot of social media.
Michelle, thank you so much for helping us out, getting this organized too, and giving us a chance to nerd out and talk art and give us a forum to kind of talk with the community. Really appreciate it.
Happy Friday, everyone. We made it.
We made it, yes, and everyone who might be affected by that snowstorm, be safe.
Yes, please do.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you everyone. Bye bye. Have a good one.
Everybody.